Good morning. Following North Korea's provocation and latest threats, the South Korean president proceeds as planned with the Second Unification Preparatory Committee meeting. The first known transmission of the Ebola virus in the United States after a healthcare worker in Texas tests positive. Take a deep breath and relax while we meet the jolly good fellow, Google employee number 107, and search within ourselves. Buy one and get a few freebies. We're taking a look at the extras culture in Korea on Korea Today, Monday, October 13th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good Monday morning. Welcome to Korea Today. I'm Kim Min-jung alongside Kim Young and Jin-ju. Hope you had a great weekend. The weather this past weekend was absolutely breathtaking. It was almost warm.
It was hot.
It was almost summer-like.
No, it was hot. I had to get the air conditioner and the fans running again for at least a few hours.
And it was a perfect weather for fall festivals, and especially for those of you who visited the mountains to enjoy the autumn foliage.
Yep.
Especially tens of thousands of visitors visited mountains in Gangwon-do province, one of the first regions in the country to enjoy these beautiful colors.
Look at those
red
leaves.
and orange.
Taekwondo
Wow.
is the area that fall falls on the quickest, the soonest of all. And it's known for its breathtaking mountainous terrain, beauty, and the different colors of fall that you can actually see. We're talking about the red, the yellow, the orange, everything.
The
Gangwon-do has it.
combination of colors. Ooh,
perfect.
absolutely beautiful. Make sure to check it out. It only lasts a couple of weeks, so before the last leaf drops, to check it out. All right, we'll leave that beautiful site there and get a check on our top story. This Monday morning, President Park Geun-hye will preside over the second meeting of the Unification Preparatory Committee later today amid heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula following North Korea's firing of machine guns in protest of anti-North Korean leaflets. All eyes are on what kind of message the South Korean president will have for Pyongyang. Over the weekend, the North's official Korean Central News Agency criticized the South, saying the leaflets were an intolerable political provocation and psychological warfare against its regime. It warned of stronger physical attacks if the South Korean activists continue their campaign. The North, however, left room for negotiations, saying it hopes the South won't pour cold water over what it calls the improving relations between the two Koreas.
Prospective Samsung Group employees flocked to test centers in Korea and in parts of North America to jump past the first of multiple obstacles, the Samsung Aptitude Test, also known as the SSAT or SSAT. Now, some 100,000 applicants headed to 79 locations in Seoul, Daejeon, Daegu, Busan, and Gwangju in Korea, and 3 locations in North America on Sunday for the 2-hour and 30-minute test, which included questions on subjects like general knowledge, Korean and world history, and on Samsung's mobile technology. Samsung Group will be hiring some 4,500 university graduates out of the prospects able to make the cut to add on to its workforce. Now, Samsung Electronics alone has more employees than Google, Apple, and Microsoft combined.
And Korea's southern regions are feeling the effects of tropical storm Vongfong that's wreaking havoc in the southwestern part of Japan. A typhoon warning and a heavy rain advisory have been issued for Jeju Island, which is being pounded with gusty winds and torrential rain. Some 2,000 boats and vessels are docked at ports along the resort island as operations of passenger ferries have been halted for the second day due to high waves. Meanwhile, in Japan, tens of thousands of people have been evacuated as Vongfong, that started out as a Category 5 super typhoon, battered the southern island of Okinawa on Sunday. At least 31 people have been injured by the storm.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, as you heard, the South Korean government yesterday urged North Korea to stick to their initial plan to hold high-level talks, while the North continued to warn that the South flying of anti-Pyongyang leaflets could cause the talks to fall through. Now, as these efforts and struggles are underway, we have a story on Donghwa-ilbo about a survey done on some of the key issues between the two Koreas. The title says 8 of 10 citizens say inter-Korean summit is needed. So the Daily, together with the Asan Institute for Policy Studies, did a survey on 1,000 Korean adults over the course of 3 sets of phone interviews to gather public opinion on some key issues regarding the two Koreas. And it is noted in the sub-headlines that more than 80% of the respondents said there's a need for an inter-Korean summit. And regarding the current administration's policy on North Korea, 48% said they are unsatisfied, while 32% answered that they are satisfied with the way things are going. In the meantime, in response to a question on economic aid, 71% of the group said the South should not provide economic aid to the North unless the North shows a change in its attitude and stance. Now, speaking of North Korea, we'll go to a story on 중앙일보, and this one is regarding the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And the title says Kim Jong-un recovering from ankle surgery he had 1 month ago at Ponghwa Clinic. Now, as we know, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been missing from the public's eye for over a month now, and speculation has been mounting on his whereabouts and reasons for disappearing. Well, the paper says that South Korean and U.S. authorities have announced that Kim Jong-un is in fact recovering from an operation on both of his ankles that he fractured. He had the surgery in the middle of last month at the Ponghwa Clinic, an exclusive hospital for high-ranking party members, and is currently undergoing physical rehabilitation at a personal estate on Mount Tamo in the northern part of Pyongyang, and that there are no signs that his rule is under threat. In fact, it is stated in the subheadline that Kim's very estate has a Supreme Command underground bunker through which he can still exercise full control over North Korea. And now, coming to local news, we'll take a look at a front page image here on Gyeongyang Shinmun. And this one is called Walking Seoul Station Overpass for first time in 44 years, set to become green walkway. So the Seoul Metropolitan Government held an event to open the Seoul Station overpass for the public to take a stroll on yesterday. Hence, the public was able to enjoy a breathtaking panorama of Seoul with traffic completely blocked in the afternoon. And here's a bird's eye view of an image of that seen on the elevated road near Seoul Station. Now, Seoul City is planning to transform this overpass into a walking park by the year 2016. And finally, we'll go to some business news here on the Korea Economic Daily for the headline right here in the center. Now, this one is called Chae-Kyung-hwan, 4% growth next year, decrease in investment is the biggest obstacle. Now, Finance Minister Choi called on top economic policymakers from around the world in Washington on Friday to pursue bold stimulus policies to speed up the global economic recovery, and that is what you see here in the image of that group. Now, he issued the appeal in a written speech submitted to the annual meeting of the IMF and World Bank, and he also highlighted that Korea risks following Japan's so-called lost 20 years unless it gets more aggressive in boosting growth. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Monday. Now, following are the stock numbers from Friday.
So warmer daytime highs and similarly low morning lows that we're getting over the weekend, and we need to get a check on today's weather, what we're expecting.
That's right. It's nice and toasty around this time of the year. I don't know why, but we'll take a closer look at the weather conditions with our Chun Sung Cho, who joins us from the Hangang River in Seoul. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from the Hangang Park. This morning, we're starting off with a lot of winds all around the nation. Heavy wind and rain are making their way toward Korea, created by Typhoon Vongfong, which is 350 kilometers southeast of the Jeju's southern coast. Having caused a lot of damage in the southern islands of Japan already, it's expected to travel northeastward further along the islands. Korea is also being indirectly affected by the typhoon's outer bands. Currently, heavy wind advisories have been issued along the east and the south coast, with a heavy rain warning in effect as well in Jeju. Some parts of Gangwon-do and Chungcheong-do provinces are already receiving some precipitation right now, and the rain will spread to other parts of the country as well, except for around the Greater Seoul area. The rain will subside by the end of the day. Now let's move on over to take a closer look at today's temperature readings. The gap between the highs and lows is smaller today because of the typhoon. Seoul's daytime highs will be 21, Gwangju the warmest at 23, and Gangneung the coolest at 16 degrees Celsius. From tomorrow onward, much colder temperatures are in store for us. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Minjang.
Thank you, Sung-cho. Let's get you caught up on the global headlines we're following on this start of the work week. We'll connect to our Eunice Kim, who joins us from the News Center. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning, Minjung.
The United States has now confirmed its first transmission of Ebola. And just like the case in Spain, it's a healthcare worker. What more can you tell us?
That's right. These cases really highlighting the dangers that healthcare professionals put themselves in the fight against Ebola. In West African countries, of course, all along, and now even in well-equipped developed countries as well. Just within the past couple hours or so, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control confirmed the results of a preliminary blood test that had shown the unidentified Dallas, Texas nurse had, in fact, contracted the deadly virus. She was described as having a low-grade fever on Friday local time, and that she had extensive contact with Thomas Eric Duncan, the Liberian man who fell ill days after arriving in the U.S. to rejoin his family. You'll remember he died last Wednesday following 11 days of treatment at the Dallas hospital. CDC Director Tom Frieden has warned that there could be more workers exposed to Ebola, as he attributed the nurse's infection to a breach of safety protocol. He said it hasn't been determined yet what that breach was, and that a full investigation would focus on possible breaches made during two high-risk procedures of dialysis and respiratory intubation. This as in West Africa, the number of Ebola deaths continues to soar. The death toll has surpassed the 4,000 mark now, with Liberia carrying more than half of those deaths. More than 2,300 Liberians have died after being infected, and unfortunately, the conditions there are poised to worsen. Nurses there are set to strike starting Monday over a pay dispute.
All right, well, in Hong Kong, the pro-democracy protests that continue to block major parts of the Asian financial hub has entered its third week. And what's the latest on that situation?
Right. Today marks the 15th day the sit-ins have been in place, and we did see some tensions escalate in the Mong Kok district over the weekend, but mostly the mood in the protest areas have been festive. On Sunday, in a TV interview with local station TVB, Hong Kong's embattled chief executive C.Y. Leung warned students who have been demanding his resignation that their pro-democracy movement has, quote, almost zero chance of succeeding. He characterized their movement as having spun out of control while vowing to stay in office. He also said he will continue efforts to dialogue with the student leaders, but that he also did not rule out the use of, quote, minimum force to clear the blockades positioned in Hong Kong. He said that it was highly unlikely that China's leaders would change their decision, limiting democracy in the financial hub. With that, we'll wrap your look at the global headlines we're following this morning.
It's not unusual for actors to go on the screen and go on the stage at the same time, transitioning from different forms of the arts. And we have a few that we're going to be looking at, which actually features very well-known actors to the stage. And our Im Yoon-hee joins us with more on that. Good morning.
Good morning. So a while ago, I brought a performance featuring the beloved grandfather figure actor Lee Sun-jae, right?
Yes.
So he's back again on this stage. So I took a look at his most recent performance along with a few other plays taking place this fall season. Take a look. Instead of heading to the movie theaters this fall, there is always the option of live performances. And at the Suhyun-jae Theater, a few familiar faces make an appearance. Veteran actors, usually seen on the TV screen, bring decades of experience to the cast of On Golden Pond.
Even though this is the talk of the elderly, anyone can come watch the performance and understand what we're saying. These are everyday sentiments we are talking about.
On Golden Pond is a story about an elderly couple who return year after year to the Golden Pond and are joined one year by their daughter and her family. Through their time together, the families bond both on stage and in the audience.
Watching, I realized that like the main elderly character, I wanted to live life with no regrets. The play was very meaningful and left me in high spirits.
Eventually, children will move on, and the only one left will be your spouse. When I go home today, I think I'll be especially grateful for my husband.
Sometimes, a slower pace can leave a more lasting impression. The sad play follows the story of a couple with a bleak future ahead, one where they must part forever. But they go through their grief with composure and grace, and most of all love, as they face a challenge together. It's a play that stays true to its name, but also gives the audience a reason to pause and think. A play that uniquely illustrates some of the darker truths of our society, about split families and outcasts. The Invisible Man shows that even though family can be a source of life and strength, it can also be complicated. Nowadays, the idea of a traditional family is something that needs to be addressed. So this play illustrates a real family with real meaning and worth.
Even though everything seems at peace, there's always risk. Our society is like that. Even our families are like that, which is what I want to really take to heart.
Remember a 98-degree song called The Invisible Man from way back in the days, but that play,
Yes.
It seems like something that's good for the whole family to enjoy.
Right, so here in Korea, families are so busy with classes, lessons, tutoring, but plays like these really reinforce the family. So The Invisible Man especially got attention. Recently, I brought in last week the Performing Arts Market in Seoul. They actually featured this play as well, and this play is known for taking a very unique approach to the theater.
Now, the old-timer actors, we're talking about actors like Lee Sun-jae, who we just featured on there, they actually have a history of going back to theater, and most of them actually started out in theater, transitioned to the small screen, and then made some appearances on the big screen as well. But we see Lee Sun-jae so much on TV these days in the local dramas, and he's able to go back and do a play. And dedication to a play, it takes a lot of time and dedication.
Right, so with this actually, he had to double cast for this performance. This performance had a lot of roles double casted because these actors are so busy. And he actually said that he prefers not to double cast, but because all of their schedules are so overlapped, it's really a must if we really want to see this performance. And so he said chemistry is a big part of the theater performance. So when you're constantly switching out the roles, it's difficult, but the performance is getting applauded as a very good performance. So something I recommend you go check out.
All right, well, thank you very much for this report.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Always a pleasure.
All right, still ahead on Korea Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the viral feeds from around the web, some videos that are going to knock your socks off and blow your minds. Mountain biking is one, and some of these are just amazing. Look at the sights. These are things that I would never do, even with a padded mountain. Unbelievable mountain biking on the notorious ridge at Isle of Skye. Cool alterations on Taekwondo kicking techniques, adorable dogs, plus more from the ingenious world of Korean marketing. All of this coming up on Viral Feed.
Constantly looking into your smartphones, working on computers all day long, these are some of the things that are causing back or neck pain for a lot of people these days.
That's right. And data released by the Health Insurance Review and Assessment Service yesterday shows that the number of patients with cervical disc problems increased by 30% from 5 years ago. We'll take a closer look at this story with our Seomi Sorang, who joins us in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. So one of the most common early signs of neck problems is the so-called turtleneck posture or the anterior forward head position. So if we have a look at this diagram here, left is someone with a healthy neck posture. So we can see that it has a slight C curve. Right is someone with a turtleneck syndrome. He's craning his neck forward and he's lost that C curve. Another telltale sign is that their ears are in a more anterior position compared to their arms. Now, as we mentioned before, the most common reason for this is that we spend too much time on our computers and looking down on our smartphones and tablets.
I think I almost recognize myself in that picture, right? You can always see yourself doing that.
Going like this.
Exactly. But how do you prevent this apart from, I guess, using your smartphones or computers less? Because
Which is pretty inevitable.
Become a serious problem.
Yeah, like a herniated disc. Now, doctors suggest two things. The first thing is to bring whatever you're looking at, so your smartphone or tablet, up to your eye level. So switching your PC monitor as well. And then to take a break every hour or so to do some neck stretches.
Okay, good idea.
Now let's see what else people are talking about. Just last week, more than 160,000 Chinese tourists visited Korea during their national holiday. Now, if we have a look at where they spent their time and how they spent their money, we can see a changing trend. So Myeongdong is still the #1 hot place in Seoul, but Dongdaemun is becoming popular as well. And if you remember, the Chinese First Lady, she visited Dongdaemun last July, and that's probably the biggest reason for this change. And they're spending less on luxury goods and more on cosmetics and food, which cost less, which brings us to our third change, is that they spend less money now per person during their whole trip. It's decreased by 30%.
Now, those are the hot places in Seoul, but how about outside of Seoul?
Well, so they used to spend time in Jeju and Busan. They were the popular spots, but now they're preferring to stay closer to Seoul in places like Gangwon-do and Gyeonggi-do provinces. Now let's see another changing trend, this time in the education sector. So according to the Education Ministry, they say that because of the low birth rate, the total number of students from K-12 is decreasing, but the number of students from multicultural families is increasing, and they now account for 1% of all students. And lastly, this pretty plant over here, people have been looking this one up because it's an endangered species. It's endangered globally. It's called Baegunnan, and it's an orchid from the Vexillarium genus. So for over the last 10 years or so, it's pretty much been thought to be extinct in most of Korea. But yesterday, it was, according to the Environment Ministry, it was found in Gangwon-do province. So if we have a look at this map, which shows the global distribution, it's found in Korea, parts of China, Japan, and Taiwan. So up until now, the most northern limit was thought to be Nagano City in Japan. But now, because it's been found in Gangwon-do province, it's increased, so 2 degrees more north from the equator.
It's very delicate if you look closely.
It's a very small flower.
Right, it's beautiful. I'm glad they're found in Korea again.
Now, to prevent them from being extinct again, what the Environment Ministry said is that they're working with neighboring countries to develop a joint conservation project. So hopefully we'll see more of them in the future.
You're looking lovely next to the flower as well. Thank you, Ms. Sorang.
You're welcome.
All right, well, still ahead on Korea today. Stay with us because we're going to take a look at a very interesting culture in Korea where you get something a little more than you bargained for in a good way. You go to buy some cosmetics, you get a bunch of free samples from traditional markets to convenience stores, cosmetic shops, and restaurants. When you buy something in Korea, there's always all this extra stuff you get on the side, and we'll take a deeper look at this generosity that's become the norm, so don't go away.
Employee number 107 at Google, and with the job title Jolly Good Fellow. The man behind the New York Times bestseller Search Inside Yourself Chade-Meng Tan joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Korea, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, now you began life at Google as an engineer,
Yes.
and then you transitioned to the job title Jolly Good Fellow, and you began working at as the head of personal growth at Google EDU. Now, this title is just so interesting. What does a Jolly Good Fellow do at Google?
Well, actually, it started as a joke. So the highest ranking engineer in Google is called a Google Fellow. And I made a joke. I said, why be a Google Fellow when you can be, I don't know, a Jolly Good Fellow? And people laugh. And then so I just gave myself the job title as a joke. And then it ended up on the front page of the New York Times. And since then, I've been stuck with it. So what does a Jolly Good Fellow do? My job description only has 7 words. Enlighten minds, open hearts, create world peace. That's all.
All right, well, it seemed pretty direct and to the point. You're right now here for a forum on meditation, right? And you did mention enlightened minds, right?
Yes.
That does include meditation as well, and you have been a sort of a key mediator in promoting meditation, and also your book is basically based on meditation and involves basically bettering yourself through meditation. So meditation has also worked for entrepreneurs and investors also, and it also works in IT as you're trying to push. So tell us how you got into this.
Essentially, meditation is exercise for the mind. Right? So if you exercise, you get physical health and fitness. And when you become physically healthy and fit, it changes everything in life. Every single aspect of life improves. Meditation is essentially exercise to improve mental and emotional health and fitness. And when you do that, every aspect of life also improves.
And it seems that's one of the biggest things that people are suffering from these days in the present day and age, right?
That's right. And that's what got me interested to begin with.
So you've worked on this, and then you've come out with this book, and also you've been having a course on meditation also. It's titled Search Inside Yourself.
Yes.
And it's been ongoing since 2007.
Correct.
There's a waiting list. It's a 7-week class, I understand.
It is. It is not really a meditation class. It is an emotional intelligence curriculum. And we use meditation as a way to train emotional intelligence, or what you in Korea call EQ.
Okay, so emotional quotient, right?
Correct.
So healing that part of that aspect. Some I've read an interview.
Not healing, improving.
Improving.
Yes.
Okay, so I've read an interview that there's some people that's taking your course and actually changed their department from one to another and have found themselves happier. Now, tell us the keys behind this secret, I would say.
So the secret is there are 3 steps to developing emotional intelligence. The first is attention training. And essentially it's the ability to train your attention so that you can bring your mind to a place that's calm and clear, and do this on demand.
So you've mastered this, so you can just do that on demand no matter
That's right.
what emotional situation you're in.
Yeah, only 90% of the time for me. So I'm not a full master yet. So that is the first part, and that is where the meditation is the strongest in. The second part, building on top of that, is using the calm and clear mind to reflect on the self and then create the type of self-knowledge that leads to self-mastery. So that's where search inside yourself comes in.
Okay.
And there's a third part, which is using mental habits. For example, the habit of kindness, which is looking at a human being and having this habit. I wish for this person to be happy. And using mental habits to create pro-social abilities in the self. So those are the 3 steps.
Okay. Meditations, a lot of people might not actually know how to do it. The concept is simple. You just sit there and basically empty your mind, which is a very difficult thing to do. How do you teach meditation?
I would not say empty your mind. I would say settle the mind. So are you game to try one breath for meditation?
Yes, please.
It's very easy. Just bring a full attention to one breath, and if it wanders away, just bring it back. Maybe let's do 2 breaths of that. Okay, starting now. So that's it, my friend.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. You notice that when you do that, in the first breath, already you're calmer. And there are 2 reasons. The first reason is psychological, which is that in order to worry, you have to be in the future. In order to be regretful, you have to be in the past. But if you are fully in the present, then for that one moment, you are free from regret or worry. So that's why it's calming already. The second reason is when you bring attention to the breath, you notice that you are slowing down and deepening breath already in the first breath. And when you do that, you're stimulating the vagus nerve, which lowers the heart rate and the blood pressure already, which is why immediately it works.
It did. It definitely. I didn't even know I was on live TV for a second. Right?
And when every time attention wanders away, you bring it back. It's like doing one bicep curl for the mind. And if you do this a lot, that's how eventually you develop the ability to bring your mind onto one item, like the breath, for a very long time without moving. And that's how you settle the mind into calmness and clarity.
So concentrate on that one breath.
Not
that's
even
the step.
Yes, but not even concentrate. Just be aware of it.
Aware of it.
Yes, it's that simple.
Okay. So one of the things that you also mentioned was world peace, and I know you're a huge advocate of world peace. And can you tell us about your future plans? And also, it just includes everything about world peace, from what I understand.
Yes. So when I started this search inside self, my motivation was actually to create the conditions for world peace in my lifetime. And the way I wanted to do that was to scale inner peace, inner joy, compassion worldwide. And I figured the only way I knew how to do that was to align these qualities with success and profits. Right? If people can learn to be successful and more profitable with inner peace and joy, compassion being the necessary and unavoidable side effect, then they will spread. Then the conditions for world peace, which is why I created this curriculum for emotional intelligence.
All right. Yeah. Well, it sounds like a perfect world that we would be living in if we could achieve all of the above that you just mentioned.
I hope so.
All right. Well, Chade-Meng, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we wish you success on your pursuit of world peace.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
Well, some of the biggest names in sports actually go through a lot of meditation before each game or match, and one of those sports is actually golf. And speaking of which, we are going to kick things off in the KLPGA, where 19-year-old Kim Hyo-joo made history on Sunday after winning her 4th KLPGA title this season. Now, during the KLPGA High General Championship, she shoots a 1-over par in the final round, but still hangs on to win her 4th KLPGA title this season after shooting a 4-under par overall. With the win, the 2014 Arirang Championship winner also becomes the first golfer to break the $1 billion mark in season prize money, making just under $1 million this season in the domestic competition alone. And now shifting over to the Artistic Gymnastics World Championship, where Yang Ok-sun went after his 3rd straight gold medal in the men's vault event. But unfortunately, a lingering injury prevented him from doing so. Now, with the World Championships taking place in Nanning, China, the London gold medalist still managed to compete despite his hamstring injury, but averages 14.416 points to finish in 7th place overall. Meanwhile, North Korea's Lee Se-kwang, who finished 4th during the Incheon Asian Games, claimed the top podium spot after scoring 15.416 points for the gold medal. And now over to some Sunday's KBO action. The Hanwha Eagles clinched last place with a 4-2 loss to the Lotte Giants, with the Samsung Lions inching closer to another pennant with a 8-4 win over the Kia Tigers. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the final matchup between the LG Twins and the Tucson Bears at the sold-out crowd in Chamsil Stadium. Now we're going to go over to the first inning of the game here. Man on second, Cheju Hwan, that's an RBI single as Tucson goes up 1-0. Next play, Kim Hyun-soo, this one a single to center field. The 4th straight hit gives the Tucson Bears the early 2-0 lead. Second inning, more from Tucson, this time Min Byung-hun, that's a double down the third base line, and it's now 3-0. Meanwhile, Tucson's Dustin Nipper keeping the LG Twins scoreless for 6 innings, but in the 8th inning of the game, Big Bang Lee Byung-gil, that's an RBI single up the middle, and the deficit is cut 3-1. But the Tucson Bears start running away with the game once again, scoring a few more runs in the bottom of the 8th to win the final Chamsil Derby of the season, 6-1, your final score. Meanwhile, over to the K-League Classic this time as the Sangju Sangmu military squad upset FC Seoul with a 1-0 win, with Busan pulling away with a 2-1 victory over Jeju United. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors take on the Ulsan Hyundai Tigers. Now, of course, going into the match here now, Jeonbuk looking pretty aggressive from the start, firing away with each chance, but both sides going to the second half scoreless 0-0. Stays that way for the most part of the second half as well until Kayo scores in the 69th minute of the match, giving Jeonbuk the 1-0 lead. Now, Ulsan looking rather sluggish throughout the match as Jeonbuk holds on to win this one 1-0. And now finishing things off, the KBL kicked off its new season over the weekend as Incheon beat Busan 67-60, Ulsan getting their first win over KGC 84-74, with SK beating Samsung in the Seoul rivalry 93-78, and Goyang defeated Dongbu 66-54. Meanwhile, let's take a look at last year's regular season champions. Changwon LG Sakers take on Jeonju KCC Aegis. Now, a big first half from KCC as they outscore LG in the first two quarters to take a 41-26 lead going into the second half of the game. And despite LG coming back strong in the third quarter to cut the deficit to 59-55, KCC's Tyler Wilkerson keeps them at bay, putting up 21 points and 8 boards as KCC hangs on to win this game 84-79. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Simon O, and that, of course, means it's time for Viral Feed. We're going to have a look at what was hot last week online. We have a lineup of some very cool stories here today. I just want to point out that this screen is at a very appropriate height for our posture. I think that's a good thing. Should I try it with my cue cards? Does this not work as well? I think it's pretty good. All right, let's get on to our first story. Now, as I've mentioned before, sometimes Viral Feed seems just like a collection of things that I'm not capable of doing. If it's something like dancing, it's because I don't have the talent. Sometimes we see people traveling throughout Europe, and I can't do that because I don't have the courage. This time, though, we have a video of someone who got 10 million views for having both talent and courage. You'll see why. Let's have a look. Now, this clip looks more like a scene from the movies than anything. We see a boat being rowed across the vast expanse of water, and there's one man alone in his quest through nature. And he's accompanied only by his mountain bike. Doesn't seem like a big deal until you see where he's headed. What? Now, this is a video about the exploits of this guy. His name is Danny McCaskill, and he's actually very famous for his MTV skills. Wow. And he's taking on the feat of riding his mountain bike across the ridge, which is a very scenic, but as you can see, incredibly scary trail on Scotland's Isle of Skye.
Is that the energy drink series of videos? That is amazing.
This could definitely qualify because if you look at some of the places this guy can go, it's just, I can't take my eyes off this.
He's risking his life.
It's just
I could not do that.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
just watching this video makes my hands and feet go all wet with perspiration. That's how terrifying it is. Now, it was very meaningful for Danny because it was his first attempt at riding in his hometown, even though he's very well known throughout the world. And I gotta say, what an incredible adventure.
Yes, that's why we're not doing that. You know, palms get sweaty, handlebars, bad mix, right?
My goodness, it's again the courage of talent and courage. I'm sorry, see, it's so astounding that I've lost my words.
I think you're right.
Yes, the combination of talent and courage with this guy, I just think is unbelievable.
Skill.
And he makes it look so easy,
Exactly.
too.
When he does that flip over the fence, it almost looks like, oh, that's no big deal. And then you go and try to do it, and of course, you're going to break your neck, right?
Or, kill yourself.
That looks
so
like
amazing.
the easiest part in that whole video.
It's just
mind-boggling.
unbelievable. All right, let's go on to our next story. Now, Taekwondo is a Korean martial art, and it tends to be taken as a rather serious sport. But our next Viral Feed clip is about the world of Taekwondo seen from a slightly different perspective. Let's take a look. Now, it starts off pretty normal, you think, but hold on. Have you seen people kicking like this? Unbelievable. This is a combination of the kicking technique of Taekwondo and also the martial arts freestyle version called tricking. Now, if you've never heard about it, well, you're hearing about it now. They've even held competitions for this thing, and it's grown into quite a popular spectator sport. And as you can see, once again, the talent on display here, the athleticism, oof, pretty amazing. Now, here's a more lighthearted side of Taekwondo. All of a sudden, music kicks in, and these guys, instead of fighting, are dancing. Yep, that's what they're doing. I love this video because that's basically what I usually look like when I dance. They've managed to take this and make it not so serious. Now, we found out that what happened here was that this was a surprise performance that was prepared on the side so that the competitors would be a little bit less tense, a little bit less nervous. And I gotta say, after seeing people dance like that, I have a feeling that's a much more relaxed atmosphere in that arena.
I just love that you can take something so competitive and so combative and turn it into something enjoyable like this, that people can enjoy all together. I think that's a fantastic story.
Very cute.
I think so. All right, now let's go on to our next story. Speaking of cute, you took the word right out of my mouth. It's been a while since I've made you guys go, aw. Today, I'm taking it easy on myself because these videos are just, they're guaranteed. Take a look. Have you ever seen a dog sleeping like this?
Oh, he's dreaming that he's running.
Yeah, it's like he's dreaming that he's running in a field of dandelions. Look how happy it is. Now here's some more sleepy pups, but they don't look like they want to be awakened from whatever sweet dreams they're having. But the owner knows how to get them up in a jiffy. A snack? Kitties want a snack? And they wake up right away.
They look identical too, the three of them.
Incidentally, that's how my wife sometimes has to wake me up. Now take a look at this. We see a pet that's just like his human. He wants a bite of that watermelon, but he doesn't want to be too obvious about it. Don't you love that?
So cute.
That sideways glance. We've all done that before. When a friend is sitting next to us and they're eating something delicious, and you want some, but you don't want to be the guy who asks for some food, so you're doing this a lot. I've done
Young
that before.
does that all the time.
No, I actually just take it from you.
Right, exactly. That too.
I just
sometimes.
love how this dog, it feels like me. On Viral Feed, there's so many talented people that I never see anyone that I resemble. Well, this puppy did it this time.
Well, you know what? Don't learn from that dog because you saw the results. He doesn't get any.
I think eventually after that video, if the owner doesn't give him at least a taste, he's a pretty cold-hearted dude. And now let's move on to our final segment here on Viral Feed. We're taking a look at some very ingenious, entertaining, impressive videos that are actually from ads right here in Korea. And I want you to see if you can guess what this ad is for. It's called Save the Classics, and I'm going to tell you straight off that it is an ad for ramyeon or instant noodles. But what kind? Let's take a look. Now this ad is titled Save the Classics, and it's about ramyeon. So what's the connection? Instant noodles, books? Well, things are getting heated for Tolstoy here. And poor Goethe can't be comfortable with this. What's going on? Yet another book. Shakespeare, as you can see in the video, has already passed the boiling point. He seems pretty upset. And Hemingway is so upset that he's just turned his back. Now, what do you think you're using as a lid here? Now, that's where the offense is taken by these writers. Books belong on the bookshelves, as we see in this video. So, authors getting upset about their books being used improperly. And we see that the right place for books is in the bookshelf. What is the ad for? Any guesses?
The bookshelf.
The bookshelf?
Well,
is it an ad for a bookshelf?
No, he said it's a kind of noodles, right?
Oh,
Maybe it's
noodle?
bookshelf noodles.
Oh.
That doesn't make sense.
It's a bookshelf made from recycled noodle boxes.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Well, let's take a look at the answer. Let's have a look. Books belong on bookshelves. They do not belong on the lids of instant noodles. This we see is an ad for a type of cup noodle that has its own lid. Now, going back to our own lives here, what does that have to do with books? Are you guys, let me start with this. Are you guys big fans of instant cup noodles?
Of course.
So what do you do after you pour the hot water on there?
Well, we basically
take a classic.
Yeah, you take
It just has to be a classic.
Something heavy.
Soup.
Because if you don't put the book on there, if you just fold the lid up, it just goes.
It can also be chopsticks.
No, it usually stays on here, but
No, but
sometimes
I mean-
it does curl up. So
Right,
book
so you
does
can.
come in
That is
handy.
the conventional thing to do.
Put
is with
something
the
or a
book.
pen even.
Right,
with
but
this,
if
you
you're a
don't
big
need
fan
to.
of literature, you might say, well, that's not the best use of a book. Books should be read, not used to make noodles. And in this case, we have a type of noodle that has its own lid that stays on. See? No book needed. It stays on, and you can enjoy your noodles and not have to worry about damaging your books. So that's the ad. It's an ad for noodles with their own lid. You guys surprised? See that one coming? You guys got me last week. I think I fooled you this
All
time.
right, well, you got this one.
All right.
Kind of.
Next week, we'll try it again with another amazing ad.
We're
Anyhow?
happier that you brought the noodles for us.
All right, it's a snap roast after the show. We'll do that. Anyhow, that's it for Viral Feed this week. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back next week with more. Ciao for now.
Today on Hashtag Curious in Korea, we're going to be hashtagging something different. The extras, the freebies. Now, if you buy something here in Korea, you're usually able to get a little bit extra on the side.
That's right. You get Young and you get Minjung and Jinju for
There
free,
you go.
right?
You get the triple combination right
That's
here.
right. So we are going to look at this trend with our foreign guest, Angelina Foss, joining us in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. So is there a reason you wanted to take a closer look at this trend?
Of course, when I first came to Korea, I was so surprised that when I bought stuff, I got a lot more things all the time. It's really different from Sweden. In Sweden, you buy something, you just get it. You pay what you get what you pay for.
And if you want any extra, you have to pay extra.
Exactly. And then also when you go to marketplaces in Korea, they say "sobisu," and then you get a lot of extra things. And also there's 1+1.
Yeah,
event.
that offer too.
Right.
And even in singing rooms, right? Even in a singing room, they give you service.
And you can't leave out restaurants. They give you extra food.
My God, the holy panchan. I love side dishes. You pay for one dish and then you get 5 to 6 extra dishes. That's what I love about Korea.
Okay. So
Okay,
let's
so
take
we're
a
gonna
look at this trend. You made a report, I believe.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
If you buy one, you get one free. The 1+1 event. And if you buy magazines, you get tons of trendy little samples and gift with your purchase. Sometimes you even get really expensive makeup. I really love this about buying magazines in Korea.
You buy a magazine and it comes with makeup?
Right. Mascara, lipstick, what have you.
I've been somewhere else.
And also we have the home shopping networks, depending on whatever the free purchase gifts are, the amount of sales differ drastically. Korea's extra culture is really unique for me. In order to learn more, I went to visit a marketplace in the city.
Now that's where you can get a lot of extras.
Whenever you buy something, they will always give you a bit extra at the marketplace. That's why I love shopping there. The merchants add a lot of energy to the atmosphere, but overall there's a good energy here. It must be the customers with huge smiles on their faces. And I think it's because of this extra service. You buy fresh bean sprouts and the seller will probably add on a free handful to your purchase. Same with tangerines. And just to show you that it wasn't just for regulars, I tried it out.
이 굴 맛있어요?
Good-natured merchants like him, that's just one more charming thing about Korea's marketplaces.
맛있어요.
Now the prices are more than reasonable.
20개 주세요.
Will I still get the extras?
자, 2개 팁. 2개 서비스. 연시도 2개 팁.
Wow. Yes, on the house.
감사합니다.
The stalls where merchants share that kind of generosity is always full of customers.
과일은 항상 여기 사요. 내가 돈 주고 사는 거 당연한 건데 서비스까지 받으면 기분 진짜 좋아요.
Let's try another place that always has regulars, a famous fried chicken place at this market. 1 scoop, 2, 3, 4 scoops. The owner just keeps adding on. A box full is normal, all that on top is just extra.
군산에서 멀리도 오셨네, 어머니. 멀리서 오셨으니까 많이 드려서 박스 아시죠?
Rumors about that kind of generosity reaches all corners of the country. Giving away so much must leave them with a loss. How can they be so generous?
The Korean sentiment, since a long time ago, was about sharing everything, even one tiny bean. We like to share. It makes the giver happy and the receiver happy.
I have customers who have been coming here for the past 5 years. If you give people a bit more, yes, there's a bit of a loss, but you don't think about that because the value of each customer is worth much more.
There are restaurants that practice this kind of generosity too. One in particular, which is quite famous, is this place where you can get kalguksu for 2,000 won. It's very cheap, but they give you a lot. And the taste, by all the customers, you can probably guess that it's pretty tasty too.
Usually you'd have to order another bowl of noodles.
Sometimes they give you refills for free. Some of these
Exactly.
places, it's amazing.
And 2,001 is too cheap.
Right. $2?
길거리 가다가 100원짜리 동전을 주는 듯한 느낌. 그런 것들 때문에 이게 마음도 편해지고.
Well, lunch is on me, guys. Let's go.
It makes me happier to see customers feel about my food. That's why I give them a lot.
Another prime example, cosmetic stores. Try any of the ones lined up in Myeongdong. There are more extras for the customer when the competition is more fierce.
이거 주세요.
As you can see, even if you buy one lotion, you get this many samples.
I just came to buy one lotion and I got all of these samples. I love samples.
My extras: facial mask, toner, lotion, and cotton. Here's a place that will really shock you with their extra service. This is a very popular restaurant, and I don't think I'm lying when I say a big reason is their extras. I'll show you. I ordered their main dish, kulposam, which is pork paired with oysters and spicy radish kimchi. It's delicious. And then, here comes all the extras.
이거 내가 안 시켰어요.
저희는 보쌈을 주문하시면 이렇게 감자탕이 서비스로 나와요.
Shocking, right? All of this just because I ordered one main dish. And that's not all. Stir-fried octopus and end casserole. Keranjim.
Oh my god, it's not my birthday.
And here's the surprising part. The extra service was actually more expensive than the one dish that I actually ordered.
I told her this is on the house, and the first thing she did was to look at the prices on our menu. Many think that at our prices and all the extra service dishes we provide, how it all makes sense. But rumors of our generosity spread, and now we have 2-3 times more customers.
There really is no end to their customers.
So how do they turn up a profit? That's my question.
The owner is just happy to see his customers being happy, and the customers are extra happy to get all this extra food. I think this is a perfect way to market a restaurant, and if this extra service culture existed in my country, I would be so much happier.
So what's the lesson of the day from this report? What have you? What are you bringing back?
Tong.
It's a rather difficult concept to grasp for foreigners, especially Chung. It's the affection that Koreans have for one another. I'm surprised that you were able to catch on pretty quickly.
Yeah, the people I interviewed told me about this, that sharing is a big part of Korean culture. And then obviously you can see it in the consumer culture too.
정인심, that's another word that we use for that.
Is there anything similar in the country that you come from, Sweden?
Nope. I really wish there was
similar.
something like that, but Sweden is too practical, so it's very different from Korea in that sense.
Right, and when I was traveling through Europe, you have to pay for even the ice sometimes at McDonald's.
Pay for ice?
Right, and pay for water, pay for things
Bathroom.
that Koreans take for granted.
Right.
Yeah.
Pay for the bathroom?
Ketchup also.
Pay for ketchup?
In Switzerland.
Switzerland, thank you. Right, so it's interesting that Korea has this culture now.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to bring my ketchup with me when I go traveling.
But you know what? My biggest anguish is when I go to supermarkets in Korea, because you have one normal sample and then you have the 1+1. You always go for the 1+1, right?
Yeah, you end up doing that.
Yeah.
And is there any other places that you go more often because they add something more to what you have paid
Of
for?
course. There's one favorite place, the Notorious, like you mentioned. You pay for 1 hour, you get popcorn and ice cream. And
Right,
the
right.
place where I always go, they just give me 1 hour extra all the time. So I love going there.
Some might actually think that this extra thing is sort of a marketing tactic. I think a lot of people would see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I mentioned, I stand there and I have the regular and the 1+1. I always go for the 1+1 because I love getting extra stuff.
Yeah, you're right. You do go for that. But then I think that is one of the pluses when you go to somewhere. And if you're going to use it really quick, I think one of the things is the shelf life on that might be a little bit less, but not by a huge significant margin.
You just go for the extra.
I mean, who doesn't like freebies, right? Everyone loves freebies, even rich people.
There you go.
All right, well, thank you for bringing us this report. It was
Thank
very
you.
interesting.
Yeah.
Let's go shopping now. After
We can even share.
You know what?
Buy 1+1, then have one each.
Right, exactly.
You guys can go wherever you want. I'm heading straight to the kalguksu place. Lunch is on me if you guys
You're
want
buying.
some. Well, of course, at 2001, I mean, I can invite as many people as I want, right?
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
All right, well, this brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
All right, it's Monday, and enjoy your Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.